She thought she was rescuing an old worthless horse for free, but what she discovered hiding in the mountain barn turned her world upside down. Elena had lived her whole life in the mountains. Her small wooden cabin sat at the edge of a forest where the wind whispered through the trees and the snow sometimes piled higher than her roof. She had always loved the quiet life, surrounded by animals and the open sky. People in the village knew her as kind but independent. She never married, not because she did not want to, but because she preferred the company of her animals and the freedom of her own pace. One crisp morning, Elena heard news from a neighbor about an old horse being given away for free. "It is too old to work," the neighbor said. "No one wants it." Most people might have walked past without a second thought, but Elena felt something stir in her heart. She had always believed that no creature was useless. She imagined the horse walking slowly along the mountain trails, tired and lonely, and she could not turn away. By the time she grabbed her coat and headed out the door, she had made up her mind. She would go see the horse and give it a chance, never knowing that this small act of kindness would change her life forever. When Elena reached the neighbor's barn, she saw the horse standing in the corner. Its coat was dull, and patches of hair were missing, showing signs of age and neglect. Its hooves were cracked, and it moved slowly, almost as if the world itself was too heavy for it. Most people would have looked at the horse and turned away, but Elena felt a pull in her chest. The horse lifted its head and looked straight at her with dark, quiet eyes. There was something in that gaze that made her pause. It was not just tired. It seemed aware, almost thoughtful, as if it understood more than its years should allow. Elena knelt down a few feet away and held out her hand. The horse sniffed her fingers, then lowered its head slightly, letting her touch it. She noticed the softness in its movements, the way it leaned slightly toward her touch. Despite its rough appearance, she could feel the warmth and trust beneath the surface. In that moment, Elena decided she would take the horse home. She knew it would not be easy, but she also knew that this old horse deserved a chance, and somehow she felt that it would change her life too. Elena led the horse along the narrow mountain path back to her cabin. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the forest floor, and the horse moved slowly but steadily, trusting her guidance. When they reached the small barn behind her cabin, she opened the gate and let it step inside. The space was modest, but Elena had filled it with fresh straw and water, making it warm and safe. The horse sniffed the straw, then slowly lowered its head to eat. Elena watched it carefully, noticing the little movements that told her more about its character than words ever could. It shivered once and looked around, but when she spoke softly, it relaxed. She brought a bucket of water and set it near its hooves. The horse nudged it gently, then drank. Over the next few hours, Elena cleaned and brushed the horse as best she could. She could see the scars from old injuries and the signs of long years of hard work, yet there was a quiet strength in it too. As night fell and the stars appeared over the mountains, Elena felt a growing connection. This horse was more than a companion, it was a silent friend, and she knew deep inside that they had found each other for a reason. A few days after the horse settled in, Elena began noticing little things that felt unusual. The horse would paw gently at one corner of the barn, then step back and look at her with those quiet, knowing eyes. At first, she thought it was just a habit, or maybe it had an itch. But the behavior repeated itself, always in the same spot. Curious, Elena got a small lantern and knelt down to look closer. The wooden floorboards were old and worn, and when she tapped on one, it made a hollow sound. Her heart began to race. Could there be something hidden beneath? Carefully, she pried the board loose. Beneath it was a small, dusty box. Elena's hands shook as she opened it. Inside were old letters, a faded photograph of a family she did not recognize, and a small, carved wooden token. She realized the horse had been guiding her all along. Somehow, it knew where the box was and had brought her attention to it. Elena sat back, trying to calm her racing mind. Questions tumbled through her head. Who had hidden these things, and why? And why had the horse been guarding them for so long? She felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was no ordinary horse. After finding the box, strange things started happening in the barn. At night, Elena would hear soft noises, scraping wood, faint whispers, or the sound of hooves pacing. At first, she thought it was the wind, or maybe her imagination. But the horse reacted every time, standing perfectly still, ears pricked, eyes scanning the dark corners. One evening, Elena went to check on it and noticed the box from before had been nudged closer to the wall. She had left it untouched. The horse looked at her as if asking her to follow. Hesitant, she moved through the barn, and the horse led her to a small trapdoor hidden beneath straw. She had never seen it before. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing a narrow tunnel just big enough for her to crawl inside. Over the next few days, more signs appeared. Footprints in the dust that did not belong to her, strange carvings on the walls, and items she had never seen before quietly appearing in the barn. The horse stayed close to her, protective and patient, guiding her wherever she needed to go. Elena realized that this horse was not ordinary. It was guarding something important, something that someone had tried to hide for a long time. Elena could hardly believe what she had found. Crawling through the narrow tunnel beneath the barn, the air smelled of earth and age, and her lantern flickered against the walls. At the end of the tunnel was a small, hidden room carved into the mountain. Inside, dust covered every surface, but in the center sat a wooden chest. It was old, heavy, and locked with a rusted latch, yet it called to her, as if waiting for her all these years. The horse stood at the entrance, watching her closely, as if urging her to open it. With a deep breath, Elena lifted the latch and opened the chest. Inside were treasures that told a story she had never imagined. There were gold coins, faded letters, and journals detailing the life of a family who had lived in the mountains decades ago. The letters spoke of struggles, hopes, and secrets, but one thing stood out. The family had hidden something of great value to protect it from thieves and invaders. Among the treasures, Elena found a delicate pendant carved from wood and inlaid with small gems. She felt the weight of history in her hands. The horse nudged her gently, almost as if it was saying, "This was meant for you to find." Tears filled her eyes. The old horse, given away for free, had led her to this incredible discovery. It had been guarding the secret all along, waiting for someone kind and patient enough to notice it. Elena realized in that moment that her life had changed forever. She had found more than treasure. She had found a story, a purpose, and a bond with a creature who had shown her that even the smallest acts of kindness can lead to miracles. Word of Elena's discovery spread through the village faster than she expected. People came asking questions, some curious, some greedy. A few whispered that the treasure should belong to the town or that Elena had no right to keep it. Strangers even appeared at the edge of her property, eyes filled with suspicion and desire. Elena felt a knot of worry in her chest. The horse stayed close to her side, watching every movement, alert to every sound. It pawed at the ground when strangers came too close, and its quiet presence gave Elena courage. She knew she had to protect what she had found, not for herself, but for the memory of the family who had hidden it and for the lessons it carried. One evening, a man tried to sneak into the barn. Elena heard the sound of the latch being tested and ran, the horse following at her side. Together, they confronted him, and the man fled, clearly unprepared for their determination. Elena realized that keeping the secret safe would not be easy. She needed to trust her instincts, the guidance of the horse, and her own sense of right and wrong. The discovery had brought excitement and wonder, but it had also brought danger. She knew the next days would test her patience, courage, and heart in ways she had never imagined. Elena decided to honor the family who had hidden the treasure. She carefully documented the letters and journals, placing the valuable items in a safe, secret spot in the barn. She shared parts of the story with the village, teaching them the history without revealing the exact location of the treasure. The horse stayed by her side, calm and proud, its mission complete. The village came to respect her wisdom and kindness, and Elena felt a quiet peace she had never known. She realized that the true treasure was not gold or gems, but the bond she had formed with the horse and the story it had led her to uncover. Elena often sat outside her cabin, watching the mountains glow in the evening light. The horse stood beside her, loyal and quiet, a reminder of how unexpected kindness can change everything. She thought about the family whose secret she had uncovered and felt grateful for the trust the horse had shown. Life in the mountains remained simple, but it was richer now, filled with stories, history, and a friendship that reminded her that even the smallest acts of care can lead to the most extraordinary discoveries.